All right. We have Adly joining my podcast today. Nice meeting you, Adly.
Nice to meet you, Ambrose. Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. It's my pleasure. I understand that you are still in university, right? You are in the Master of Management program at the moment. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into that. I'd like to actually learn more about Master of Management. That is something alien to me. And of course, I'm an old dude. Many years ago, there's the undergrad program, and there's MBA, and there's the EMBA. And I don't think the Master of Management existed back then. So I definitely want to learn more about that. And of course, you have done your undergrad at the University of Calgary as well. I'd like to ask you a few questions about that. So, what do you study, Adley?
Currently, I'm a Master of Management student at the University of Calgary. And I guess I can just dive into what that program consists of right now. But essentially, it's a program for people that did a non-business undergraduate degree and helps them build a foundation of business skills, like all the soft skills and different business concepts like accounting, finance, marketing, and adds that on top of the knowledge that you gain from your undergrad. Yeah, that's what it is in a nutshell. It's a 10-month program, so it's super quick and unfortunately super busy because of that as well. But I'm really enjoying it. It's in a cohort, so you're with the same people the whole time, all sharing the same struggles of the endless onslaught of assignments. But yeah, it's a really fun program and it's really new too. I think this is the 6th year of it running at the
I see.
University of Calgary. Yeah,
Okay, no wonder why I never heard of it. But I'm 6 years in, and I'm sure they have figured some things out, ironed out all the kinks as well. At least you're not the lab rat in that
exactly.
first couple of years, going over all the obstacles. And definitely 10 months only, that's extremely compact and condensed. And are you taking the equivalent other undergrad business courses, or are you taking some MBA level courses as well?
I think it's closer to undergrad level courses, but they offer a laddering system where if you already have your Master of Management, if you do your MBA, you can do it in half the time because it counts as the first half of an MBA.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a program that offers a lot of flexibility for students because you can treat it as a terminal degree, meaning you can go into the workforce and never touch school again, or you can use it as a stepping stone and come back in 5, 10 years to get your MBA and pivot again, or
Right.
maybe keep climbing the corporate ranks.
That's definitely an incentive for students to continue on this education journey after accumulating a few years of working experience. Those people may want to further their career paths, and they may actually want to get the MBA destination. All they have to do is come back for another 10 to 12 months and get that degree. Wow.
Exactly.
All
Yeah.
right. And for this Master of Management, do you get to pick any focus area or one degree and everyone is required to take, as you said, a couple of finance courses, a couple of accounting courses? Do you get to pick any concentration?
Yeah, it's exactly like what you said, where it's just one degree and all the courses are assigned, so everyone takes them at the same time. You don't get to focus academically on any concentrations, but they have different like opportunities posted through the Master Management communications where there's
Mhm.
different networking events and I guess not just networking events, but different events and competitions where people can explore different topics. And these topics are broader than just like the business topics like marketing or finance or whatever, but also sustainability, technology, and like IT management.
Okay. All right. So, who would you recommend this program to?
Yeah, I would recommend this program to anyone who has their undergraduate degree and either doesn't want to do anything related to their degree for their career, or if they want to upskill and climb the ranks of wherever they're working at. So if, for example, if you did like a chemistry degree and you're working as an analyst in a lab, but you want to be more closer to the management side or maybe
Right.
even run the lab, then this would be a good option.
So I'd like to hear a little bit more about your personal journey and how you came about finishing your first degree and then deciding to take on this challenge. As I'm aware, you recently graduated from the biological science program at University of Calgary, specifically in the biology program.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. So I started my degree in biology right after the pandemic had started and everything was online.
That was a weird time, yes.
Absolutely.
Did you get to take your courses in person? Because I coming out of COVID, things were still a little bit weird in a lot of places, especially university, and a lot of the first year students, they actually ended up staying at home and
Yeah.
take all the courses online. Was that your experience?
My first year and a half was completely online. We went in person very briefly at the start of my second year and then back to online because
Oh,
it started picking up again. I don't really remember the specifics.
it was a blur.
Yeah, I was doing biology and the main motivation was because all of my friends in high school were also doing biology and we were
Okay.
all intent on going into med school, helping society that way. And I was pretty set on that for the first 3 years of my degree. I was completely happy with that. But as I got exposed to more opportunities and learned more about how the world works and what kind of career options there are, I realized that there's different ways for me to be impactful to society in ways that would make me happy, and the endless struggle and stress of being in healthcare, at least at the doctor level, just didn't seem appealing to me anymore. I finished my fourth year and then went into the Master of Management.
Actually, that sounds very similar to my personal experience as well. My first degree was also at U of C in biochemistry. And I'd say 95% of the students who go into Faculty of Science, their intent is to eventually get into med school. And
Definitely.
of course, we all know the admission rate for med school has been hovering around just 11 to 13%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So out of 100 people, what does the rest of the 85 people do?
Master of Management. I'm telling you.
Massive management definitely is one of the options. Now, before you come to that conclusion to pivot to
Yeah.
management and not continuing solely pursuing biology or health science, did you have other options in year 3 when you had to make that difficult decision?
This is a bit of an involved story, but so throughout my undergrad, I also was participating in a charity called AC Robotics. And this charity helped provide educational programs centered around robotics and hands-on STEM learning experiences for children from the elementary school level all the way to post-secondary level. Anyone who wants to learn was welcome to participate in those programs. And I was in it as the marketing lead. And I got in there, or it started out because I just liked doing graphic design for fun. And then they're like, oh, you can do marketing and graphic design are a bit different. So I had to learn a lot, but I realized that I actually liked it a lot. And marketing was something that I wanted to do. But a lot of the marketing programs would require a Bachelor of Commerce to do. You can't do a Master in Marketing without an undergrad, at least from what I found. Maybe it's different at other universities that I didn't research, but from my research, that's what I found. So I knew I wanted to do something business related, likely marketing, and I found out about the Master of Management where you don't need a business undergrad. You just need less than 2 years of work experience and a non-business undergrad to do the Master of Management. I was like, that sounds perfect to me because I'm already started my pivot by working in marketing. And this would just give me the credential to have a bit more clout in the space and also a broader foundation academically of what it means to do marketing and how that ties into other business functions.
That's definitely quite a journey. Now, thinking back, Adley, would you rather you having exposed to all these information knowledge back in high school, and I'm talking about perhaps grade 11, grade 12. So you didn't have to go through the 3 years or even actually 4 years because you did finish the biology degree. Now, had you known about all these different options, would you have made a different decision coming out from high school?
Yeah, I probably, if I had known everything that I know now, I probably wouldn't have done a degree in biology. But that's not to say that the degree in biology is not useful to me. I think having an undergraduate degree did teach me a lot, not only about biology and actually more about things that aren't biology, like how I learn the best and um, humility, I guess. There is so much that I don't know, and it's good to be able to recognize what you don't know and when to ask for help. And then also just things that I enjoy doing. I think those were like probably the three biggest takeaways from my degree, and I think you can have those takeaways from any undergraduate degree. And I do think that is worth the time because it helps you kind of figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life.
Exactly. Had you not gone through those 3 years, perhaps, I mean, in biology and your life story could have been written differently, right? Just the people that you met up and the opportunities that you had, perhaps they would have led you onto a different path, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's never a waste. And in university, you learn how to learn. You learn how to utilize your analytical skills, application skills, and of course, all those soft skills are pivotal in surviving in the world and actually become a successful, a useful being as well.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
that's my takeaway. Now, for other up and coming university students or the ones who are in the science program already, if they're not, actually, let me rephrase it. And I'm sure you've done your research while in that program. Are there any uh, career options for someone who are graduating Bachelor of Science, perhaps in biology, perhaps in cellular microbiological science, or I don't know, botany, zoology, all those subdomains within science. Um, what should they be expecting in terms of career choices with just an undergrad degree?
Yeah. So during the undergrad, the main pipeline that gets pushed onto you is to just stay in academia and do research. And if that's what you enjoy, there's nothing wrong with that. And there is definitely fields of research that I do find really interesting. So that is definitely one of the possible career paths is to do research and just advance the collective knowledge of the world. I think that's really cool. And then you can also do research at the industrial level. So working with a company and then researching for them to perhaps better their technology or just doing analysis just to make sure what they're doing is like up to code. So I guess an example for that would be like a water treatment plant. If you're working for them, maybe you'd be just testing like different samples to make sure that the water is being treated appropriately and then also there isn't anything like a big change in contaminants or something like that. So that is a different kind of application of the research side, but to a more industrial field. You can also use the degree to work in science adjacent fields. And this is a bit harder just because there is such an oversaturation of graduates with so many different programs. So you'd have to compete with them a little bit. But I'm talking about jobs where you'd use your technical knowledge to communicate maybe with people that don't have that technical knowledge. Pharma companies need this because they need people that can talk about whatever new drug that they've developed and explain it to either patients or doctors that don't know about this new drug yet. So that's a potential career path. Or another would be maybe a startup, a biotech company that's developed a new technology and they need to be able to explain it to their consumer base, but they don't know how. So someone with that degree would have the ability to, or someone that is working in a position would have the knowledge to translate that technical skill into something that their target consumer base can understand.
Now, for those type of positions, would you recommend students to either further their education after the undergrad degree in biology or whatever it is to become eligible for those positions, right? For example, the one that you just mentioned, being a liaison, right, between a pharmaceutical company and perhaps a user group, there's often a gap because on one hand, you have some very technical, experienced people. On the others, you have a user group that only cares about, okay, how do I use this? How practical this is? And all the data science that goes behind it, right? Often they do require a specialist or someone, a liaison, to bring the two groups together to be able to speak both languages. Now, yeah, again, I guess my original question was, would you recommend people who are pursuing those type of industry and position to further their education after coming out from Faculty of Science?
Yeah, I think it depends on the industry. If you want to do pharmaceutical, you probably should have some sort of master's or even a PharmD, I think would be really beneficial just because those positions are really competitive. But if you want to do maybe something closer to startups where they can't be as picky or something like that, then it probably is okay to just have the undergraduate degree. That being said, though, you can't just go into these positions with just your academic background. Definitely exploring those kinds of positions, maybe through student clubs or internships, is like a really good way to get that experience and see if, one, if it's something that you enjoy doing, and two, if it's something that you're able to do, and three, to just build that background to have more credibility in the space.
And of course, another really good option is the Master of Business programs, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
exact that serves the exact purpose for bridging science, and it could actually bridging the world of science and the world of commerce management
Absolutely.
together, right?
Yeah.
Would that be perhaps one of your future career goals that you may still want to have your foot in the health science field, but of course operating at a more commerce and your managerial position?
Potentially. I'm not actually completely sure what I want to do yet. So I've just been doing things that I find fun or interesting and just taking me all over the place. But I think that's just been what's most fulfilling for me. So yeah, started out as working for doing marketing for a startup charity that does education. And now I'm starting a nonprofit that also helps provide educational programs and expose students to different industry connections and potential career paths. So I kind of
Okay,
have my foot in the door on that side of things, but
that's
I'm all to
yeah,
do marketing and communication and stuff like that.
awesome. So I believe you're referring to Design Alberta, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's a nonprofit that you founded.
Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
For sure. Yeah. Like I said, Design Alberta is a nonprofit that aims to connect students and, or I guess, bridge the gap to industries. The way we're doing that is by organizing competitions, events, and conferences to bring students and people that are working in industry together so that they can talk, and I guess the students can get exposed to potential career paths that they might not have been aware of previously. And then on the industrial side, they can get exposed to students that they could potentially hire. So it has like talent acquisition as well as just a resource for students to use when trying to decide what they want to do with their life.
Oh, oh, neat. Okay, so can any students go? Students who are currently enrolled in a post-secondary or perhaps the fresh graduates as well? Can anyone come in, and do you have an office space? Like, how do people find you?
Yeah. So currently it's purely just events. So whatever event that we run, people are free to join. And yeah, this isn't just for students that are like enrolled in post-secondary or a specific post-secondary. We try and keep it as open and well as possible. So we've had actually a lot of high school students compete in some of our previous competitions.
Oh,
And
is that right?
yeah,
Oh,
and our
okay.
last competition, we had hobbyists that had been working in the industry for like close to a decade come and
Yeah.
compete as well. So it's
Oh,
really cool.
wow.
Just
Okay.
any sort of person that can potentially get value from it, they're welcome to join.
Okay. All right. So even high school students are welcome to joining these events. Oh, that's wonderful. Hoping that my channel will have the exposure to a lot of these young people as well. If anyone is watching this video, how can they contact Design Alberta?
For sure. So currently we're Design Alberta on LinkedIn. And if you search design_Alberta on Instagram, it should pop up there as well. We
Okay.
are in the process of rebranding to SkillFuse Innovations. So this might not be relevant in a few weeks. So the best way to reach out, you can either contact me. My name is just Adly Azim. You can find me on LinkedIn or Instagram. Or you can probably search SkillFuse, no space, and that would be on LinkedIn as well.
Okay. All right. And I'll make sure to leave the links in this video description.
For sure, yeah, I can send those to you.
Yeah. Okay. That is so cool. That's definitely say your baby, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It's been fun. It's been a ride. And it's picking up now too. It always feels like it is though. I guess that's the nature of small organizations and
Oh
trying
yeah.
to make big impact with just a few people.
Yeah, and every day is a challenge, yet every day you see something new, something bigger,
Yeah,
right? And you can witness its growth. It's addicting. It's yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely time consuming too, but
Oh,
it's fun.
indeed. So I don't know how you manage it, right? You got school, you got your nonprofits, and this is not the first time that you work in the industry. I believe, as you mentioned before, you did some marketing in the past as well,
Yeah.
right? And did you help? Is it like logo design, branding? Like what area within marketing were you involved in?
For sure. So yeah, a lot of brand strategy. That's probably what I enjoy doing the most. So I stuck to that area the most, but I
Mhm.
did a lot of event marketing and also field marketing, which is just marketing, but out in the field. So just talking to people. And that
Okay.
would be at different events with students, orientations or conferences. I would just be there to inform and talk to people and hopefully get them excited about whatever program that we're running. But yeah, those I did a lot of those, but it was mostly brand strategy, which is figuring out the brand. And the brand is not just the visual, like the logo, but it's also like the feeling that you want consumers when they see your company or interact with your companies. And it's the set of values that is associated with the company and not just what the company wants as their values, but what the consumers will apply onto the company from their experiences. All of that is the brand. It's a really intangible, difficult thing to put into words,
I know.
but but it's the
Yeah.
vibes.
And it is so different from what you were studying before.
Yeah,
Science is all about facts,
yeah,
right? Things that you can experiment with, something that you can test, and you back it up with evidence, all that. So we're talking about tangible items.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, marketing, branding, it's all intangible. So it's a polar opposites. Wow,
yeah.
Adley.
It's it was really cool. It's a lot of learning that I did on the side. It's really fun. And yeah, that's not to say that you can't measure it. There are actually metrics that you can use to measure the effectiveness of different brand strategies or marketing. And you can do that through surveys that measure, okay, like when you see this company, like how do you feel? Or how likely are you to recommend this program to a friend on a scale of 1 to 10? Things like that.
Mhm.
It all kind of ties in to the brand and brand awareness and how people feel about all of those things. So yeah, brand strategy.
That's neat. I've met a lot of young people and they wanted to get into marketing, but they're not quite sure what it is. Again, it's the feeling, right? Yes, even though there are some metrics, but at the end of the day, we're talking about, okay, how can you make people view a certain company, a brand, and as soon as they walk in, if there's a storefront, as soon as they walk into a store, that that personality, that feeling should be consistent from the
Yeah,
time they walk in to the time that they leave. Even after they've left, that feeling should stay in so that next time they require the same product or service from that brand, they will click and remember that certain company. It's interesting and it's everywhere, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Brand is really important, but yeah, that's only one really small facet of marketing. Marketing is a really broad field, and it's doing it injustice to say just marketing because it can be split into so many different disciplines. So we did discuss brand, but within marketing, there's a lot of marketing is based off of research and data analytics, looking at customer data and figuring out what people are more likely to buy, how their buying patterns change when, let's say, you lower the price or introduce a different product. All of the things like that are also factor into marketing. Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Do you see yourself utilizing more of AI in the very near future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone should utilize AI to some extent and obviously be smart about it. Don't let it write your assignments for you because you're not going to learn. And then if you're caught, then you're also, the university won't like that. But yeah, AI is, I think it's a really useful tool that just speeds up your workflow if you know how to use it well. So with assignments, what I do is I'll get AI to give me like a skeleton
Hmm.
of a topic that I find that I want to write about. And then it just tells me like, oh, you can write about these things. And I don't always follow it completely. I'll change stuff as how I see fit. But just having that skeleton to work off of just speeds things up so much. And that's just for academics. AI can help me think of new ideas. So when I was doing marketing for the robotics charity, I was doing a bit of content marketing, which is a form of marketing or promotion, I guess, where you create content not to promote the company, but to benefit the consumer. So you see this a lot on websites where sometimes you'll search something up and be like, oh, how do I do this one thing? And then you'll click the site and it explains to you like how to do that thing, but then
Hmm.
it's also a product placement because their software conveniently does exactly what you're trying to do,
Ah,
like websites
okay.
like that. So that would be content marketing. And the main goal of content marketing is to benefit the consumer and then promote second. Yeah. When I was doing content marketing, sometimes I wouldn't be able to think of what do I write? I'm trying to write about our programs, but also help our people that are enrolled in the programs or looking to enroll. So AI has given me so many ideas on just things to write about and just having that idea to start off of or bounce ideas off of AI is really helpful and helps speed up the workflow.
I guess this is the modern era of marketing, right? Instead of shoving a product down someone's throats, buy this, you try to provide value, right,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
your customers. I think Gary V, you know about
yes,
Gary V. Yeah, I think that is his motto, right? Yeah, how can I benefit the crowd? How can I provide value to my followers, to my viewers? And then as long as you can help make a difference in this world, people will start following you and they will try to help you back as well. I think, yeah, again, that's the modern marketing strategy.
yeah, yeah, I definitely agree.
Okay. Now, Ethel, I believe I asked the same question to our common friend, Riley Damon, who also did this podcast with me last time.
Yeah,
Because of his unique position. He's in the engineering department, also doing a management degree, a dual degree at the same time. you're in a similar boat, right? And I asked him, hey, are the stereotypes true about the science people, the science crowd, or engineering crowd versus the business school students, right? Of course, there's some common stereotypes where the science people, they're all geeks and some of them are introverts. So they're great at what they do and what they study. But in terms of some of the soft skills or communication skills, there's room for improvement. Whereas the business school crowd, it's more about working and group work, and they're definitely less technical. And Riley attested to that stereotype. So I like to hear your opinion because you have one foot in each of those worlds too.
Yeah. Yeah. I would also agree with the
Oh yeah,
stereotype.
you do.
If you had to take, both communities as a whole and just average out, like on average, you probably will find like better spoken people on the business side and then like really technical, smart people that could probably use a bit more work with communication and the science side. But
Yeah, I recommend young people, for those who believe they have skills, to sort of, if we're talking about like veterans and whatnot, find your niche position. And I guess you're a great example. You did great in your undergrad, but your tendency is it's more towards the business world, the marketing side of things. And so you find this niche position to perhaps in the future you can help technical companies, the health science related companies, because again, those technical people need that liaison to help carry their ideas across to the customers, to the public, right? So
yeah,
if you can find that niche, that will make you very special.
yes. Yeah, I agree with that 1000%. Finding your niche is definitely the way to go. And it is a bit hard to hear that and be like, "But, like, how do I find my niche?" I guess I'll speak on that a little bit. And
Sure, yeah.
for me, like I didn't really realize that I found my niche until I was like into it. And so what I would recommend, it doesn't matter if you're like a well-spoken person in sciences or a really technical person in business or whatever. You can be completely, or you can think of yourself as an average person, and that's completely fine. But what I would recommend is just do things that you find fun. And that can be like just join random school clubs or go to events, meet people, or just get involved with different things. At the university level, there's so many resources that people aren't aware of. At the University of Calgary, for example, they have the Hunter Hub for Entrepreneurial Thinking, where you can join a team, actually create a startup if you want to.
Okay.
Or they also have like internship programs. And I think the Faculty of Science is rolling out a program for that as well. So you can do internships with science now instead of just engineering or
Oh,
computer
that's great.
science. Yeah, which is awesome.
It took them how many years? Like 50 years to do this? Wow. Finally. Okay.
Yeah, it's great news. Too bad I graduated before I found out. But yeah, there's so many resources, and there's also resources that aren't offered by the university, but can be accessed by university students. There's national level competitions or provincial competitions that are open to university students, but people don't know about it because no one's promoting it at the specific
Mhm.
university. Yeah, look online, find things that interest you, and just compete in it and try it out. Maybe if it's something that you enjoy doing, that could be like that specific subset of work that you enjoy doing, or in other words, your niche. So definitely, yeah, just do what you find fun. That's how I've got to where I am.
Yep. 4 years is a long time. So definitely if you're not having fun studying what you learn and what you know, then yeah, it's going to be a long, drawn out 4 years.
Yeah,
Definitely, yeah, find something. There's so many clubs. There's so many initiatives started out at the university. You just have to go and seek them. Yeah, talk to people, even just going to the department office and say, hey, you know what? I actually want to do a research project on this topic, and are there any professors doing this? And I want to connect with them. And that's one great way to get a lab job,
Yeah,
even whether it's volunteer or perhaps summer job position or internship, working for a professor, working in a lab. That adds to the resume too. That's important.
yeah, yeah.
hmm Now, again, if you think back to, I know what you're studying now, and because of this and the nature of this condensed program, it's a little bit unique. But thinking back of the 4 years you spent in the undergrad, what would you say are the essential skills to survive as a uni student, and perhaps not just survive, but actually do well in university? What are some of those skill sets required?
I think the biggest two skills would be communication and then time management. And everything else will fall into place if you have those two locks down. With communication, not just communicating through your written works, being able to state your position in an essay or whatever, but communication with your prof. If you don't know something, if you can communicate that you don't know, like communicate what you don't know, then your question's going to be answered in a much more helpful way to you. And you can also apply that to your classmates as well. If you can communicate with them, figure out what you need to know or stuff like that, then that's suddenly all of your classmates are a resource as well. And that's just communicating for you. And communication is not just that, it's two ways. Being able to listen intently and actively and actually absorb that information is really important, especially in university where most things are taught as lectures. So you have to learn how to listen to things and figure stuff out. So that's definitely the first skill that I think is really important. The second skill is time management, and this one I think is a bit more straightforward in that there is just so much going on, especially if you try and involve yourself with different initiatives and clubs, and if you're working during university as well, then you definitely need time management. And because if you don't, then you will just completely get run over and overwhelmed, and then you'll be unable to do anything. Yeah, having those two will definitely just provide such a good foundation for you to do everything else that I think those two are just the best ones to focus on.
hmm And I would presume that you started developing some of those skills even back in high school, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can imagine a lot of the first year uni students, it's a little bit of a culture shock to them, which is the sheer size of the classes, especially for Faculty of Science. Yeah, for the first year, there were classes that take place in theaters, not classrooms. So
Yeah.
you're surrounded by another 100 to 120 students,
Yep.
right? Yeah, that sometimes could be quite overwhelming. And you're basically just a number in the whole system. Yeah, people don't know your name. Your professors definitely don't know you at all. And nobody cares if you attend classes or lectures or not. Yeah, some of these skills definitely need to start to be developed actually in high school, ideally. So when you cross over to uni, that it'll be a smooth transition, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it is tough because that transition is never as smooth as people want it to be. And
No.
yeah, like it's always a tough during that first like little bit learning how to function in the university because yeah, the sheer size of everything, and then that point you're an adult, so your responsibilities are also increasing, and then just everything on top of each other is tough to deal with. It's totally understandable that first little bit is a struggle, but it's a great way to learn on the fly if you are
hmm
in that position.
Right. Before before enrolling in UFC, back in grade 12, did you consider other schools or possibly other programs?
Yeah, I considered, and I was accepted to do biology at UBC and biomedical life sciences program at McGill.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, I think because of the pandemic, I decided to just stay in Calgary where I know it's at least somewhat safe because my family is here if something
Yeah.
happens. And yeah, that's just the reason I chose Calgary.
Okay. And definitely way more affordable.
Yeah, that's true. Having to move out and then figuring out the living costs and all of that on top of tuition is always feels ridiculous almost how much money it costs.
Yeah, that's definitely one big deciding factors when it comes to selecting schools and programs. And certain program cost a little bit more than the others,
Yeah,
namely engineering, the ones that I know anyway, and the
yeah,
engineering program, business school as well.
yeah, yeah. Those ones are pretty expensive.
And I
And I
think that,
know,
yeah.
I think everything has had tuition increases though, so everything's live at
Oh
this
yeah,
point.
yeah, inflation is applied to everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
it makes no discrimination.
unfortunately.
Now, yeah, you'll be graduating soon from your second degree. What are your immediate goals? Actually, I'm interested in knowing what maybe a year from now, where do you see yourself? And perhaps 3 to 5 years later, where do you see yourself?
Yeah. So in a year from now, I'll ideally I think I want to be doing a second master's in Germany. So I was accepted to a program called it's a Master of Science in Management and Innovation. So it's a bit more entrepreneurial focused, and I think it would allow me to use my undergrad more in that I can use my science background to create something, and it's a thesis based master's
Oh, really?
program. So it's yeah, it seems really cool. It's in Germany at the Technical University of Munich,
Wow.
and yeah, so I was accepted there. So just trying to
Congrats.
figure out the money to see if it can go or not. So if everything goes to plan, I think that would be really cool to be there. If I don't end up going though, I think I'd want to be maybe working full time, just doing some sort of a potential like marketing or business development role, probably with a startup, just because I like having that uh, more of a comprehensive view of like all of the business. That with larger organizations or companies, it's a lot harder to see the value that you yourself bring or you and your work can bring to the company because you're changing the smallest things and the company operates on such a big scale. Okay, so I'm writing these emails, but what does that even change? But yeah, that's just my view on it. Some people really enjoy that.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct, right? In a much bigger firm, each role is very specialized and it's easier to get pigeonholed in a way.
Yeah,
If you want to have your reach on multiple areas in the company and making a bigger impact, definitely a startup is the way to go. But of course, it also comes along with more risks with startups. You'll be working, you know, 15 hours a day, 16 hours a day. Yeah. And you may not see the immediate impact until months later, or sometimes years later, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Or it may actually doesn't lead to anything at all because yeah, it's a proof of concept. Something that you're working on is a brand new project, is a proof of concept, and it may or may not work. But that's the fun part, also the challenging part in working in a startup company.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think I like creativity and also seeing with smaller organizations, you get to know everyone or at least a good chunk of people. And through that, you also get to figure out what the business is doing on all facets or figure out how every person is impacting it. So it feels more meaningful. At least that's how it's been in my experience.
That's great. Now, I love to reach out to more peoples to have talks like this that are fun and it's informational as well for young people and also for the parents as well. I'm a parent and definitely I want to help my kids figure things out. I'm not trying to dictate, what they're thinking, where they want to go, but I want to provide enough information so that they can make an educated decision. So thinking
Abs-
back when I was a teenager or just hearing from you about your personal experience. As a teenager back in high school, we didn't know any better what options out there. I'm hoping that with these podcasts, I can just help a little bit in providing the information. Adley, if I'm asking you to nominate one or two or three people whom I can actually have a chat with in the near future, do you have anyone in mind?
There's a few people that come to mind, and I'm not sure if they would be able to speak, but I think if they could, that would be really cool.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And each of them, they're not students anymore. They've been working in industry for a few years. Yeah, I guess the first one would be Dante Liu. He's a registered nurse, but he's working as the marketing and communications lead for a startup called Carbon Upcycling Technologies. Really
That's
cool person.
interesting.
Yeah.
Another quote unquote science trader. Okay.
Yeah. And then person that I can think of is Kim Avam. He is the partner specialist at Platform Calgary. And he did his undergrad in education, but started doing a lot of like partnership work, business development work
Yes.
through the Japanese Cultural Association.
Yes.
And then that led to him working at Platform as a partner specialist. So I think both of them have really interesting stories to share that could be interesting to hear because they're not students anymore and they've worked in industry full time for a while.
Yeah, actually, I would love to be able to talk to some industry people, right? I don't discriminate whether you're a beginner in a specific field or industry or somebody who's a veteran who has worked in the same industry or company for 15, 20 years. I'm more than happy and intrigued as well to talk to them. Perhaps I can get the contact information of those two people from you later on offline. Really appreciate the nomination. And of course, I'd like to thank you for your time today as well, just chatting with me. And I'd like to say, I'd like to give you best wishes in your future endeavors. Definitely when you finish up your Master of Management degree in just a few months. And of course, hopefully, you'll be able to go to Germany and further your education. That'll be exciting.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
And fun as well. So yeah, I'm wishing you all the best, Adley.
Thank you so much. And so much for having me on the podcast.
Oh, you're
really
very welcome.
Fun.
Yeah, this
I
is
hope that
really
what
fun.
I said will bring value to any of you listeners.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I've learned a lot from you already. And I'm sure a lot of young people would find the same as well.
Great.
Yeah, thanks again, Adley.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one.
Hey, you too.